Good afternoon, and I'm your host, Dr. Vijala Kennedy, Director of International Partnership Office of Kumaraguru Institutions and the Principal of Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science. I extend a very warm welcome to our speakers and our participants this afternoon. Hope all are safe and keeping well. Kumaraguru Institutions is very happy to be part of this, organizing this webinar series, Study in USA. We have done 4 very interesting sessions, and today we have another very crucial, important session on crafting the statement of purpose. And to talk about the session, we have Niki Chokshi, who is a recruitment advisor India for Arizona State University. And to moderate the session, we have Aparna Chandrashekaran, advisor, Education USA and USIEF. We are very happy to have a speaker and a moderator here with us. And this is a very important session in different ways. We have deliberately kept the session's name as Crafting Statement of Purpose because writing a statement of purpose is actually a art and a craft, and a lot of intellectual thought goes into it, because this is almost a self portrait of ourselves when we are writing to the international university or anywhere, because it talks about who we are and what we are good at, why should the university take us, and also what we want to do in future. So it's actually a self portrait, and we need to craft that very well to sell ourselves. So that's why this is important. Second reason why this is important is writing a statement of purpose many times, not only to a US university, but across the globe, anywhere, any international university, we will need to send a statement of purpose. And even if you're applying for a job, a statement of purpose is always good. It's always good to understand how we need to write it, and what are the techniques, mechanics of it, so that it will appeal the reader and reach the objective of the statement of purpose. So, with this initial thought, I welcome all of you. The session format will be like this. I will very shortly hand it over to Aparna Chandrashekaran, who will give an overview of Education USA, USIEF. And followed by that, Niki will be talking to us about writing the statement of purpose. And we will have the question and answer following that. Even as she's presenting, or even if when Aparna is presenting about USIEF, Education USA, USIEF, please do post your questions. If you have questions, post it in the Q&A box so that we will be able to take it. I hope you have enough materials to take notes and make note of things, because this is very important and a very interesting session that we have in front of us. So with those thoughts, I would hand it over to Aparna Chandrashekaran. Over to you, Aparna.
As Dr. provide accurate, current, and comprehensive information about US higher education to international students, including those of you from India who will be applying to US universities in the coming years. We are the official source of information on US higher education, and we come under the US Department of State, and within that under the Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs. We are a global network of 430 plus advising centers in over 170 countries. So we do have a large global presence, and we advise students around the globe who are aspiring to study in the US. I'd next like to share some statistics on the number of students, international students in the US, and how many of them are from India. So as you can see, there are 10 lakh plus Indian students from around the world who are studying in the United States, and out of these, 2 lakh plus are from India alone. Following China, India sends the largest number of students to the US. And many of these students, of this 2 lakh number that we're looking at on the screen, Many of these students are pursuing currently a master's degree in the US. There are, of course, a small group of students who are also doing the bachelor's degree, the doctoral programs, and the postdoc. But by far, the largest number is the students who are pursuing a master's degree in the US. Just as to let you know how to connect with us, we have 7 Education USA centers in India. They are located in the cities of Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Kolkata, and Mumbai. Another way to reach out to us is by signing up, to our database. So if you see this SurveyMonkey link, which is provided on the screen, do make a note of it and go to that link and sign up, and we'll include you into our contact database, and you will receive updates from our office about upcoming virtual events, about scholarship alerts, and so on. Our official website is educationusa.state.gov. That's the US Department of State website. So do spend some time looking at it, because the 5 steps to US study, as is given in this slide, are explained in great detail on that website. So do look at the graduate section and look at all the 5 steps and the various links and information that are provided within each section. Like we tell students, it is necessary that you start your preparations early, almost 12 to 18 months prior to joining a university. You need to start your US university preparations process. So the first step, of course, is researching your options, shortlisting your universities. Then, of course, you'll have to figure out how you're going to pay for your education. So are you going to self-fund your education, or are you looking at scholarships or financial aid assistance from the universities? And you will have to do adequate research about this to be able to fund your education. So that's why that is almost 6 to 12 months prior to joining the university, you are expected to do this phase of preparation. Then, of course, comes the actual application process, where you will be completing your application package and submitting it within a given deadline that the university states on its website. And once you receive an admission offer from the university, you will then, of course, apply for the student visa. And once you receive that, it's called the F1 student visa. And once you receive that visa, you will, of course, next be preparing for your pre-departure orientation, hopefully with Education USA. All right, so this is a timeline that we've sort of put together a slide over here. If any of you would like to receive this uh, as an email, do send us an email to our official email ID, which is chennai@educationusa.org. Please send us an email asking us to share this timeline, application timelines slide with you. We'd be happy to share this, because it will give you a bird's eye view of what you need to do at which stage to prepare for your admissions to US universities. So do get in touch with us if you're interested in receiving a copy of this slide. Okay, just a quick update. The fifth and final session is going to be on Monday, June 1st, which will be presented by Mr. Abhyuday Pai from the New York University's Tandon School of Engineering, which will be an overview of the graduate application package. So do join us for this final session as well. You can connect with us by checking our virtual calendar, which is Education USA calendar. So bit.ly/Education USA calendar. All our upcoming events are listed on this calendar. So do look out for more information here. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 7 Education USA centers in India. These are the contact details for each of the centers. We also have a toll-free helpline number, which is 1-800-103-1231. Advisors are available between Monday through Friday, between 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So do reach out over phone also if you have any questions, right? So with that short introduction to Education USA, I'm now going to hand over to our speaker for the day, Niki Chokshi from the Arizona State University. Over to you, Niki.
Thank you so much, Aparna. I appreciate your introduction. And am I audible?
Yes, Niki, please go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity to Dr. Kennedy, Education USA Chennai, and of course, the students for having me on here. My name is Niki Chokshi, and today we'll be discussing how to craft the statement of purpose. So my understanding is that you've already had several different points of engagement with different advisors for admissions. So the statement of purpose is actually one of the key components of an application. So before I get into the presentation, I'll be speaking for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions. So please feel free to input your questions in the Q&A function, I believe, down below. So I wanted to give you a really quick introduction on Arizona State University. If you have not heard of ASU, we're located in the southwestern corner of the US, as you can see on that map over there. We're right next to California, New Mexico, and we're actually on the border with Mexico as well. And we're based in the city of Phoenix, Arizona. So we have 4 different campuses in Phoenix. As you may or may not know, Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the US. So it's really quite exciting. I'm actually a graduate of the Thunderbird School of Global Management, so I'm an alum. And now Thunderbird is one of the 16 colleges within ASU. So ASU, when I say we're the largest public university, we have about 110,000 students across online and across in-person classes as well. And that's spread across about 700 different majors at the bachelor's, master's, and at the doctorate level as well. Another quick slide I had about ASU. I know we love our numbers here. We're actually quite proud to be ranked the #1 in the US for innovation by US News and World Report, and this is, I believe, the 5th year in a row. The reason I'd like to mention this is because this is truly what sets us apart in terms of innovation, in terms of the minds, in terms of the types of students that we attract, because innovation and the use of technology is really that common thread that ties together all of our curriculum, all of the colleges that exist within ASU. So it really is a refreshing place to be. And without further ado, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get started on our topic for today. So in front of you, you see a very quick agenda on here. These are the points that I'll be referring to time and time again in terms of what the statement of purpose is. Now, when we take a quick step back in terms of what exactly is a statement of purpose, we have different types of opportunities in an application package where you can actually shine as a student. So some of them might be quantitative, some of them might be qualitative. I'm sure that these have already been reviewed with you, but a quick recap wouldn't hurt. So on the quantitative side, you will have your GPA, which will be in the form of transcripts or your mark sheets. You will have your aptitude tests, which are your GRE or your GMAT tests. You might have your English proficiency scores, your TOEFL, IELTS, etc. So those are the numbers, right, that you would typically submit when you're trying to gain admission into the program of your choice or the graduate program of your choice. Now, on the qualitative side, you have several different options as well. You typically would submit your resume, which lists your professional accomplishments. This could be any jobs you've had, any internships that you've undertaken during your time in Coimbatore, for example. You would have your letters of recommendation, which come from your professors who you've studied with in certain subjects. And then, of course, you have your statement of purpose. Now, the statement of purpose is a fantastic vehicle because it allows you to show who you are as an individual, not only on the personal and the professional front, but also on the academic front. It is the opportunity for you to state your academic objectives, to state your professional objectives in light of the program to which you're applying, right? So it asks the fundamental question of why. So you'll see the question why running through this entire presentation. And that's something I really want us to be mindful of as we move through our discussion here today. So why the statement of purpose, right? I wanted to come to this slide now because at a very high level, colleges simply can't interview everyone. Now, if you're applying for, let's say, a very competitive MBA program, for example, they might require interviews as well as statements of purpose. In fact, I noticed I said statements of purpose, where there might be a general statement of purpose, a general essay, as well as a specific one that is more specific to the branch to which you're applying to. So again, the volume of applications, the fact that somebody is sitting halfway across the world in an admissions committee trying to evaluate you both on a quantitative and qualitative basis really helps you utilize the statement of purpose as a good vehicle for you to add color to your entire application package, right? Now, again, there's a lot of other factors in here. So you've already submitted your grades, GPA, extracurricular activities, career goals, test score, all of these as part of the application package. But you want to be mindful because other candidates also have similar profiles. So how competitive is the landscape? How many students apply? What kinds of backgrounds do they have? These are all valid questions to ask, but at the end of the day, none of these other folks can help you as much as you can help yourself, because remember, you are the person who knows your academic records, your professional goals, your academic or research aspirations the best, right? So with that being said, I'll bring you to the last question on here, which reads, what makes you memorable? Right? If there's one thing you take out of our conversation today, would be the question of not only what makes you memorable, but I would go one step further than that and ask you, what is your unique value proposition? Right? Because this will be at the crux of everything that you write, everything that you try and convey in your statement of purpose. Now, we'll move on to our key components, because we do have a lot of ground to cover. So at a very high level, we have three key components that I've listed here. Now, whether your essay is going to be one page, whether it's going to be 2 pages, whether you're sticking to the word limit, which we'll get to it as to the importance of that in just a minute, you want to start off with a compelling story. Right? The story is what is going to be the foundation of your entire outlook, your entire essay that you're going to write, because your why, as I said, the why of why you want to pursue this degree program at this time, in light of your academic, personal, and professional endeavors, is really what's going to substantiate your story, right? And of course, at the end, you have a summary. So if you're writing notes, this is a very important point. This is kind of something you want to keep coming back to as you make different versions of your statement of purpose. Start off paragraph, which you would call the summary of your story and your why. Okay, so in the story, when you start off the entire essay, you might already know this because of your expertise in writing different types of essays. You have what we call a thesis statement, right? So this simply tries to assert one statement of why it is you're essentially writing this essay. So you don't necessarily have to say, I'm writing this essay because da da da. You just get straight into it, right? So I've given a very, very simple example here. So what am I trying to prove or tell the reader? Mind you, that is the admissions committee. And B, why? Why am I trying to tell the reader that said story, right? So the first, your thesis statement could start off as, I believe that ASU is the best university, and the substantiation comes as it cares about its students, it has great classes, and has a global reputation, right? So if we move down to points 4 and 5 here, have I made it relevant to my story? No. Is it precise? Yes. So what is wrong exactly with these statements that I'm making? Right? Although they may be true, they may be very precise, where I have used that signposting standard 1, 2, 3. These are my substantiators for this statement. This doesn't relate in any way to me. It doesn't state the program to which I want to apply to. It doesn't bring in or tie in any sort of education or curriculum or classes or research that I've done in this topic. It doesn't talk about any of my career goals, right? So while this may be a great start for you to state that, yes, you may indeed believe that ASU is the best university, well, in what context? So context is very important, because context, which is in this case you, the writer, is actually that thread that ties the entire essay together. So if you were to rephrase this, it would be a lot more in depth, rather than just saying, a blanket statement such as, I believe that ASU is the best university, right? So I think this is an interesting example, because yes, not only is it important to be precise, but it is even more important for it to make it relevant to your story. So think of it as past, present, and future, right? Okay, we'll move on to a couple of best practices here. Now, when I say best practices, these are suggestions on how you can actually augment the quality of what you're writing, right? So the first things that you want to consider is, who is my audience? Who am I speaking to through this essay? Obviously, it would be the admissions committee. You also want to find out whether you have a general admissions committee in the university to which you're applying, or you have a specific one. Many universities, for example, at ASU, we have a specific admissions committee that is within the department to which you've applied. So it would be professors who are professors. Let's say if you've applied to a mechanical engineering master's program, it would be professors and deans or heads of department in that program that would be a part of that department's admissions committee that would be receiving these applications and subsequently reviewing them. So Not only do you want to prove to these professors, to the admissions committee, that you have the motivation or the capabilities or the competence as a student to excel in classes academically, but you have the long-sightedness to not only have the professional growth option there, but you have goals, right? How do these goals relate back to the program to which you are applying, academically and professionally, and if possible, personally as well? When you start writing this, it's really easy to get into the mindset of putting in blanket statements, right? So my second point here says, emphasize everything from positive perspective. Don't write in a passive voice, write in an active voice, right? So one thing that students end up doing, so this is just one example, right? A passive voice would be, the ball was chased by the dog, right? An active voice, and I'm sure that we know all about this, is the dog chased the ball, right? This is a very simple, example, obviously, but it's important to not underestimate the power of your words, because you have very limited real estate. Let's be honest, you might have 500 words, you might have 1,000 words, and you want to make sure that every word is resonating with what you're trying to convey. Now, my third point is really important, because many of us might have had some extenuating circumstances that might have affected any point, any part of our academics, any part of our professional experience, any part of our personal life that resulted in something else, right? If you have had an experience like that, it's important to state that only if it is relevant to what you're applying to, right? If you have had extenuating circumstances, maybe they were very young, but they don't relate at all to what you're applying to your situation, to how well you did in college, then maybe it's wise to not include them. So this, of course, this is a very case by case basis evaluation, but be mindful that it is okay and it's encouraged to show that you've overcome obstacles to get to where you are and to subsequently succeed. Okay. Now, I'll go back to this and say, connect everything with continuity and focus. Just like I said, be precise, make it relevant. I cannot stress that enough, because these are, two words you should write down if you're taking notes right now. You want to be precise. You want it to be relevant to your story. Okay. Now, my last point is pretty self-explanatory. You want to use words that are specific. You don't want to use words that we consider fluffy or large, or ones that you've obviously opened a dictionary to phrase into a sentence. We want to hear your authentic voice. Now, when I say authentic voice, do not copy paste this out of any standard SOP that you find online. This is something that has to come from within you, and it will require a lot of different versions, a lot of different drafts. So do not expect to sit and have a final draft by the end of one sitting, because that is not reasonable from what I've seen. And be very respectful of the guidelines that you've been given in terms of whether it's a 500-word essay, a 1,000-word essay, whether they say that there is no limit, but we encourage you to keep it between a page and a page and a half. So with all of this in mind, let's break it down to very simple do's and don'ts, right? So the first row that we have, use this opportunity as a chance to show that you are a real person, right? Goes back to the same point as don't try and sound smart, don't try and reference unrelated individuals. I have seen students who might throw in the name of one or two professors into their statement of purpose who are not from the branch to which they're applying, completely unrelated, and just thrown in there to show that they have done their research for no reason, right? So if that is your objective, to throw in names, that would not be advised, at least from my perspective, because that takes out the authenticity component of your essay, right? Anything that you add in there that's going to water down the efficacy of what you're writing is a no-no. So unless it makes sense, unless you're going in for a research degree, unless you're going in for a degree which is heavily focused on the technical aspects, heavily focused on maybe even research or special projects where you feel like you're going to want to work under a specific professor, and why, mention why once again, that's when you want to bring in the names of specific individuals. Okay. The second point on here is my personal favorite. So do show via imagery and don't tell, right? So show, don't tell, right? And I keep telling this to students, not only those who are applying to different colleges, but those who are applying to internship during the master's program, applying to different jobs after their master's programs. Show, don't tell. It is much better to use examples rather than putting out a blanket statement telling, I'm a very hardworking person. A statement like, I'm a very hardworking person is simply telling. Instead of saying I'm a very hardworking person, show using examples of the projects you've undertaken in your college, the internships maybe that you have done as well, right? Those will go a long way to show me that you're hardworking instead of you telling me that you're hardworking. Okay. Now, the third point here, be honest, be authentic, and again, don't relist or exaggerate any accomplishments. Yes, it's important to speak in a confident or assertive manner. Like I said, be confident in showcasing your accomplishments, but don't go over the top, right? Don't remember, you are the one who knows your accomplishments in and out. You are the one that knows them best, even if you had advisors and professors who have assisted you in this time. Don't shy away from stating them. Show how you've overcome them, but at the same time, limit yourself in terms of exaggerating them out of proportion, right? So I'm trying to go through these rather quickly as I think I have about 15 minutes or so left. So paragraph tips. Now this is a great slide, right? No matter which paragraph you're writing, whether you're in the introduction part of it, whether you are in the body part of the essay, whether you're in the concluding paragraph, right? So this is a great rubric for you to use. I would start off by saying go, so state your topic. This is your thesis statement if it's in the case of your first paragraph, right? This is what you're hooking the reader with. This might be a story, this might be a quote, this could be a question. Of course, there's no mandate of it being a quote or a question. It needs to be something that's compelling. So when you state your topic, the next step is to slow down and be specific. Right? Just like I used the example of ASU is the best university, that is way too generalized, right? So what would you use in place of that that would be more specific? You have to pause a little and make sure that it's specific. At that point, you want to stop and explain by the use of imagery or examples. You always, always, always want to have examples while keeping in mind that you don't want to have more than about 2 or maybe 3 examples per paragraph. And I think 2 or 3 is even on the high side, right? Because you want to always go back at the end of a paragraph and restate the topic, not in the same words that you've used originally, obviously, but in different verbiage, right? So now this brings me to my question, how long is a paragraph? So if anybody would like to guess, I'm happy to take your guesses, but I think it might take a little while for folks to input their guesses in here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just talk about this, right? So a paragraph is typically, some folks say that it's about 200 words long. Other folks will say that it's anywhere from at least 2 to 3 sentences to more, right? Now keep in mind you don't want to have less than 3 paragraphs per page. This is my personal recommendation. You want to have paragraphs that are sizable. Of course, you don't want to have a paragraph with 10 sentences on there. You want to have at least a minimum of 3 sentences per paragraph as necessitated by what you're writing, where you are within the concluding part or the body or the intro part of your essay. So keep these things in mind. As you start writing, don't get hell-bent on how long a paragraph needs to be, because the best thing for you to do is start writing in very short bullet points and then seeing what fits and then moving on to understanding how do I structure this essay. Okay, so we'll move on to very kind of housekeeping information, the stylistics, and general writing tips that I have for you. So stylistics, right? So it's just as important to have a visually appealing statement of purpose as it is to have important and appealing content, right? So I don't, for example, want to see somebody who has completely double-spaced their entire essay and has justified their entire text. It looks like a box, and margins are set all the way out. So these are just some things, and you're welcome to screenshot this, or you can even write this down. But it's the appeal of an actual statement of purpose goes a long way in terms of how you have composed it, but not only on how you've composed it, but how you have actually laid it out. If you have the luxury of writing more than one page, you want to make sure that you have page numbers. You want to make sure that you have a title, some context to it, instead of just starting to write the essay. It's important because if you submit your essay and if you upload your essay in place of something else, you want to make sure that the person who's reading it on the other side knows that in fact it is this essay for this student, so that it is matched to the correct application, which is yours. Okay, so I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Just wanted to reiterate this because it's, you know, you can never have too many too much advice on how to structure this. So again, so we'll move on to kind of a more practice session, and this is going to be more generalized. So my idea was to break folks down into kind of different pairs, but this is something you can write down and consider this as your homework for today. If you're thinking of applying to a master's degree program in the coming 1 year, in the coming 6 months, for example, even in the coming year and a half, because we realize that right now is when you should be preparing for starting a master's program in August 2021, right? So start in this format. So take 2 minutes, define what your story is. Okay, now this can be anything along the lines of how do you weave together your professional, personal, and academic endeavors into being a good fit for the academic program to which you want to apply. Or it could talk about the research you've done. It could talk about the places where you've worked, internships, school projects, class projects, anything you want to talk about from your college year onwards typically. Okay, once you have that, you want to find a partner who I would say ideally doesn't know you as well, because then you can be completely open with them and get an objective response back from them. So take 2 or 3 minutes and speak to your partner about your points. So walk them through in a past, present, future type of analogy what your story is going to be. When you mention the story, this will essentially be your thesis statement and your why, right? You might even include 1 or 2 examples in there because all of this that you're writing will be the backbone of your entire essay, of your entire SOP. Now, at the end of that, at the end of bouncing these ideas off of your partner, you want to then share a brief description of your story. Now, this does not need to be perfect. It essentially has to be very rudimentary. It's a great starting point for you as a springboard for you to continue and write a full, complete SOP based on these bullet points that you write from this exercise. Okay, so and at the end, obviously, you're welcome to ask yourself what aspect was the most challenging for me. Was it trying to find examples? Was it trying to craft my story? Was it trying to uh, pick out different learnings that I've had from my college years, etc. Okay, so moving on to my final thoughts. Now, I'm trying to, I know we were a little bit, have a couple more minutes, I think. So I will leave you with these final thoughts, right? In the sense that you want to be mindful of the word limits that we discussed, right? Most SOPs are between 500 to 1,000 words. Those are suggested word limits. If you don't have an idea of what the word limit is, I highly encourage you to reach out to the university representative because that's what they're there for. They will likely help you out with this question. Don't feel shy because if you don't ask, you may never know the answer, right? So definitely ask all the questions you have before starting to write any of your SOPs for any college. Now, keep this in mind as well. For every university you apply to, you want to craft a different statement of purpose, right? Now, you might take bits and pieces out of this SOP and input it into a separate one. That's fine, but it needs to be relevant to that specific institution where you have then applied to. I have seen quite a few times, or I've heard professors tell me that they might have received SOPs from students who have copy pasted their entire SOP from another college they've applied to their department, our department, I should say, and it still says even the college name, of the other college. So this is really, simple things that you want to be mindful of. Now, consider your audience and engage the reader at the beginning. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but who is your reader? Who is your audience? Who are you speaking to through words? Hook your reader with a personal story. This is very important because think about it. If you're starting to read a book, if you're starting to read an essay, if the first few sentences are really interesting to you, you'll want to read more automatically, right? So think of it in that way. Make sure that you get many different people to read the SOP of yours who will help you really parse it down to really the most important points, right? The third point I have is demonstrate interest in the school. So why this program? Why now? you have to make sure that those dots connect. It's not just a statement of, this is who I am, this is the great things that I've done, without any mention of the school, because then that's just a personal statement and that doesn't really mean much in terms of the why, right? You have to have you tied into the degree program, all of your accomplishments, to all of the values that you see in the program and how they come together, essentially. Okay. We already talked about paragraphs a little bit. You want to make sure that it's a professional document. And this is perhaps the most important part, right? Write a draft, take a break, come back to it, and repeat. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. I've personally written quite a few of these, and it really helps when you're writing a statement of purpose to write it, send it to a couple of your friends who might not know you well enough. I've typically also had my SOP that I had written for a university many, many years ago sent to a friend of mine who then erased my name from it and sat down with another friend of theirs and had that person read it. And the complete stranger who didn't know me gave me incredibly objective feedback, right? And this is great because assume that the person who is reading it is a complete stranger. How will they react to it? What information does not connect the dots for them in terms of understanding who you are as an individual and what your objectives are? This goes without saying, peel back the layers and find deeper meaning as you write. This will come with time. Understand that you might go through 3 or 4 different renditions of a one SOP. Make sure, again, that you're not plagiarizing or copying anyone else's, because this has to be your own voice. And I'll come to my final points here, but these 4 points that I listed in here demonstrate leadership and decision-making capabilities. Why are these important, right? If you remember at the beginning of my presentation, I talked about how it is important to understand what your unique value proposition is, right? This was on one of my first slides. So initiative and the ability to take action, creative thinking abilities, independence, as well as being a great team player, and then obviously leadership potential. All of these help you in your decision-making abilities. And how, right? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the big picture here, if your goal is to get a job after your study in the US or in the degree program, the graduate program to which you're going to, and I think placement is a whole different question that we can address in a different webinar, of course. But what it comes down to is your unique value proposition and how well you can pitch yourself as an individual. Think of yourself as having a key competency. What is your core competency and how does that relate to what you're applying to? This is going to be the same question that you'll be asking yourself when you apply for your internship. What are my key competencies and how am I a good fit for this internship? Same thing when you apply for the first job after you graduate. So these are great things for you to start thinking about, because many students also include in their SOP the companies with which they want to work. And of course, these have to be authentic. They have to be realistic. I might have seen quite a few students who have written, well, of course, I'll go and work for Google and this, but no substantiation of how they plan on getting there or what their realistic goals are that will serve as a springboard for them to reach those targets, right? So again, keep it simple. Like I said, keep it simple, but at the same time, be authentic, understand what your unique value proposition is, and I think you will be well on your way to crafting a great statement of purpose. Now, I will end with that here. And of course, we're happy to take your questions right now. This slide includes information about Education USA. So Aparna and Shanti's team, they're happy to help you out. And then I have my information on this last slide as well. So I think, Aparna, what we'll do is we'll open it up to questions now, if that's okay.
Yeah. I've got a couple of questions on the private chat, which I'm going to read out to you.
Sure.
Okay. So the first.
So I've got some questions on the private chat, which I'm going to read out to you.
Sure.
So the first question is, what is the difference between a statement of purpose and a personal statement?
That's a great point, right? So I think it depends from institution to institution. So certain colleges will ask you for a statement of purpose when you apply at the university level. But if you're applying for either an honors program, an accelerated program, or maybe even an MBA, which is considered to be a professional degree, they might also ask you for not only a secondary essay, which answers very specific questions, but also for a personal statement. A personal statement, in my opinion, is a lot more generalized than is what a statement of purpose is, because typically a statement of purpose allows you to express and connect the dots between this is who I am as an individual and this is what I'm applying to and this is why they work together. So on the other hand, a personal statement might still have the why. I think the why is very important of your past, present, and future. Who am I as an individual? What are my goals that I've achieved so far? What are the challenges that I've overcome? And where is it that I'd like to go? But on the other hand, it might stop there, right? The personal statement might stop there. But a statement of purpose, I think, takes a deeper dive into the why vis-a-vis the program to which you're applying. So it has a lot more of an academic and professional depth to it as well.
Okay, so the next one is what's the difference between an SOP for an MBA and an SOP for an MS program?
That's great. No, I'm glad we're asking that, because when you're looking at an MBA program, so MBA programs are, an MBA is a professional degree. So you have to expect that they will be expecting a student has superior writing capability. So everything that I mentioned in stylistics, in terms of how to write an essay, how to create a paragraph, all of those things are augmented, obviously. So that's on the housekeeping side, on the way that it looks and feels and echoes. But on the part of the content, right? When a student is applying for an MBA program, it is a lot more important to focus on the professional side of things, right? This being said, you have to be able to take examples of leadership experiences you've had in your past. Now, these can be whether you've led teams within the classes that you have taken at your college right now, where you have worked on a specific a specific topic and led a team of 3 to 4 students. That is a leadership experience. You can work off of that. If you've done an internship, you want to bring that into question. If you're hoping to take a few years off, get some work experience in the corporate world somewhere, work in a job, that is great, because you will have a lot of transferable skills. Now, write this down as well. Transferable skills that you have that will be echoed in your statement of purpose when you apply for the MBA. Because the MBA, while yes, it will take into account what your grades are, that you are in good standing and you have a good GPA in your college. That's great, because that is already the bottom line, right? It is expected for you to be academically proficient, but not only proficient, but strong in terms of academics. But then what, right? So an MBA essay essentially would answer that question. What is your professional expertise or experience? What is your direction that you want to take in terms of your professional goals and objectives? And how do you realistically plan on achieving them? So if you can focus on these professional goals, then I think you can really end up crafting a really great essay for an MBA.
Okay. Are you able to hear me, Nikki? I lost your...
I can hear you.
You
Yes.
can? I can't hear you.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
I'm not able to hear Nikki. Naveen, are you able to hear Nikki?
We are able to hear Nikki.
Okay.
Clear, loud and clear.
Great.
Naveen, are you able to hear Nikki, please? Or Shanti, are you able to hear Nikki?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. We can hear loud and clear.
I think I'm the one who's having a problem. I can't hear Nikki. Let me try getting online.
Shanti, if you are there.
I'll anyway ask you the next question, Nikki. What is a diversity essay? Some universities are asking for a diversity essay, and what does that mean?
That's great. Yes. So certain universities or certain programs might ask you for a different statement, right? A diversity essay, for example. So I see this a lot in US universities and a lot of US citizens or US permanent residents who are writing this. Not necessary, but either the program requires it by default for students from certain regions, or the program requires it if you're applying for a certain scholarship. If you're applying, you want to be eligible for a certain diversity scholarship. So this essentially asks you to speak and elaborate as to your background. If you have conducted any sort of volunteer part in an SOP, I think in an application there's significant weightage given, right? Why? I would say it's equal to the professional experience or the way in which you pitch yourself in a professional way. So I would say yes, it's a very important weightage, but I would say so is everything else. And I know that doesn't help much, but think of it in this way, right? You want to think of yourself, put yourself in the shoes of the admissions committee. If I was the admissions committee, I want to see a student who is coming in, who has not only basic academic proficiency, who is average, but who's above average, right? Who has not only successfully finished their classes, but excelled in them. So we don't want you to just survive in our master's degree classes. We want you to thrive in our master's degree classes. The reason why there is an academic skew or an academic component to an SOP is because I want to see that you have the tenacity, you have that academic competence that will make you want to succeed in these programs, right? What happens is when we see a student who has grades, for example, that when I see a student, for example, that has grades that are average, right, I'm hoping that there will be something else in there in the SOP that will either justify those grades or that will show me that the student is focused on 5 other things. Maybe they have worked on a college competition in robotics, right? This is just an example. They have this many extracurricular activities or volunteer work. They have had a lot of leadership in their team projects in class. They have done one internship. They have been a part of the local Rotary Club or something of that sort that automatically helps me balance out the academic component, right? Academic component's always important. Again, it goes both ways. I hesitate to find somebody who's doing excessively well in classes and what I might say is a topper, but is not able to even articulate sentences on an SOP. That will be a big red flag. But on the other hand, a student has done all of these 5 things, which are extracurriculars and not academic, but the academics are, a bit flailing here or there. That will give me other questions as well. So you want to make sure that you use the SOP to help balance things out as well.
Thanks, Niki. So there's this question. Now, suppose the student is, not done well academically. Should they be honest and mention that in the SOP, like I have backlogs or arrears and things like that? How honest can they be in their SOP?
So I think it depends, right? Again, understand that all of those backlogs or any of the classes and arrears or all of your grades are essentially seen by the admissions committee anyway because they have your transcript in their hand in front of you. I would say if there's a justification or an extenuating circumstance or a specific challenge you had which resulted in that outcome, definitely include it in there and make it relevant. Don't have a whole, a paragraph or 2 of these are my goals. I want to work with Tesla. I want to do these great things. Oh, by the way, I didn't do so well, but I want to do these great things, right? So there has to be a connection there. So you can maybe lead the reviewer into saying, these are my goals. This is everything I've done. I have faced challenges because of I've had these challenges.
Niki, can you hear us?
I think
I'm wondering if her screen is frozen. I'm not able to see any movement. Are you able to see anything, Shanti?
It's frozen. It's frozen.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead with the next question, Aparna.
Okay, so what we'll do is, I think I'll put the question to you, Shanti, and you start answering them, and hopefully Niki will join back.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
a student has asked, can a research proposal on a research topic be a statement of purpose?
Yeah, it definitely they are a little different as Niki was explaining in the beginning. See, the proposal on a research topic may be called as a statement of research and not as a statement of purpose. However, this is university dependent and the university will specify whether they require a separate statement of purpose or a statement of research from you, and based on that, you need to prepare it. Niki will join us in a minute. That's a message that I'm just getting her.
Hi, I'm back. Can you see me?
Yes.
I'm very sorry about that. I lost
It's all
power
right.
and it just took a few minutes to come back.
Not a problem. Yeah.
I
So, Niki, I'll pose a question to you now. Can a research proposal on a research topic be a statement of purpose?
Aparna, I think your voice
Can a
is breaking.
research topic be a statement of purpose?
Can you list your research topic in your statement of purpose?
No, I'm going to let me repeat that. Can a
Can a
research proposal on a specific research topic be the statement of purpose?
You know, I think, again, I think it depends. I personally have not seen that happening, and I don't encourage that simply because the statement of purpose does have its own place. If you were to attach that research proposal in addition to the statement of purpose, that would be fine. At the end of the day, you want to reach out to that department to which you're applying and to understand what an impact the statement of purpose is going to have and whether it will be the same as a research proposal. If you're applying for a doctorate program, sometimes they would say that yes, your research proposal is your statement of purpose. Certain programs do say that, but at the master's level, I would highly encourage a student to focus a lot more on, yes, relating that research proposal. Yes, they can definitely write it separately and very concisely and have it a separate document. Refer to it in your SOP, but make the SOP a lot more about your journey and why you came to that research proposal.
Right. So another interesting question from a student. So somebody who's just starting out on their undergraduate program, how can they go about building their profile for STEM courses, which is something they may want to highlight in their SOP when they apply for a master's program?
Okay, so this, I believe the student is coming already from a STEM course, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
I would think so. Okay, so this is important because different programs put precedence on, priority on different items, right? Certain programs will place a lot more gravitas on maybe your academics. Certain ones will place a lot more gravitas on your professional side of things. For example, an MBA program. Well, an MBA program would not be STEM, obviously, but if you understand the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? Those would typically require a high level of technical competence, right? When you're applying for a program that is requiring a higher level of quantitative or higher level of technical competence, you not only want to do well in your academics. I think that is the best thing you can do. That shows that you are not only you have the aptitude, obviously, but then you also have the other side of it. So you have the book smarts and the street smarts. I had to put it in that way, but I'm just breaking it down in a very rudimentary way. When you talk about a STEM degree program, the examples that you use should be the one that will make the reader say that, yes, this is a serious candidate. Use examples of you having faced challenges, perhaps. For example, if you don't have any work experience and you're coming from a STEM degree right now, and you're in a bachelor's degree program and you're applying for a master's degree program, which is also in STEM. What you can do then, as I'm sure you've done many projects in your classes, use the examples of some of the hurdles or some of the obstacles you have faced in those classes and show how you applied critical thinking and reasoning skills to that, along with your technical competence, and achieve a result. Even though that might not be the result that got you an A in the class, that still helped you understand and grow as an individual, right? Because at the end of the day, many students shy away from saying, oh, I don't want to state my problems or my issues. That will just, and everything is just great. I've never failed in life. But I want to see a student who has overcome a significant challenge. And if you can show me that in the context of a STEM program that you've been enrolled in, but a classroom example, that would be wonderful.
Thanks, Niki. There's an interesting one here saying that, I haven't had many opportunities to do research at the undergraduate level, and there isn't really anything unique about me that I can sort of highlight in my statement of purpose. I am good in academics, but I don't have any projects or internships. How should I present myself in the statement of purpose?
This is a great question. And believe it or not, most students will ask the same question saying, there's nothing unique about me. I don't know what to write, right? So believe it or not, every single individual we have on today has something definitely unique about them. So what you have to start doing is listing everything that you have partaken in from the time you started your undergraduate degree program till now, to see how you can further dissect that to tie into what it is you want to do. If you are in this situation, you still want to be mindful that yes, you still want to take examples of the times where you were challenged in a certain class, how you've overcome that, but also then have a higher focus on what it is you want to do after you graduate and why. Many students shy away from saying that because their answer is, well, I will go into any company that the school places me in, right? So again, I wish we could talk about placements. It's such an important concept here. But the reason I say this is because uh, an admissions committee, yes, they care about your academics, how well you've done academically. But on the professional side, I want to have students in my class who will A, contribute a whole lot academically to my classes, but also B, who will be successful, who will be employable afterwards, who will have goals, realistic goals, and a real drive, a tenacity to get there. So try and focus a lot more on that drive, on that professional goal that you're about to set, maybe a milestone. And I think once you set that, that essay will kind of start taking shape and show me as an admissions committee that yes, you come from this background, you have good grades, sure, but you have a very specific goal and you have done your research about that company and that even a department within a company where you hope to work as well.
Right. So the other question is it okay to sort of, mention names of faculty members or professors at the US University in my SOP? Can I sort of, dovetail my research interests with those of the labs I'd be interested to work in that university? So can I include this kind of information in the SOP?
I would say absolutely yes, if it is relevant. Like you mentioned, you are going to dovetail and find synergies between your own research and or potential research you want to do with this particular professor that you have read up on and read every one of their publications and done extensive research on. By all means, yes, you can mention them. I would say if you are an authentic individual in mentioning that professor in a very relevant light, that's great. On the other hand, this could go awry really fast in the sense that there are folks who say, oh, I should throw in a couple names. If you're thinking of throwing in professor names just for the sake of throwing in names, that is not advisable. But if you are honestly thinking of working alongside a certain professor for a certain reason, definitely add it in there, but make sure that it is relevant, right? I'd like to see that you're mentioning that professor maybe in the body of the of your essay, not maybe in the first paragraph necessarily, because the first paragraph is really setting that tone for the rest of your essay. And maybe working with a professor is one of the stepping stones for you to get to your milestone. Your milestone obviously being your thesis statement or your goal.
Okay, so we'll take the last question now, Niki. This is, what kind of achievements at work can I show for an MBA SOP? Is this limited to promotions?
Absolutely not limited to promotions, right? Actually encourage you to put in achievements in there that you've received, like accolades that you've received. For example, many folks have an opportunity in a corporate world or in the professional workspace where one employee who has worked with you on a team, so was a team member of yours, recommends you to a higher committee and you've won a certain other award, not a promotion, not a financial promotion, but still an award. Definitely add that in. If you've been considered for an award, you may still write that, but I would say stick to the awards that you've been granted. Obviously, you can mention promotions. I would actually suggest, which carries a lot more meat and not a lot more weight, would be if you can mention maybe a high caliber or high value projects which you have worked on. That have had a high impact on the bottom line of that company. Now, by bottom line, I don't only mean the financial bottom line. I mean, you've impacted the fabric of that company, the way that it does business or the way that it executes day-to-day tasks or made something more efficient. Definitely include small wins or small successes like that as well.
Thank you so much, Niki. That was the last of the questions. Very insightful presentation, and thank you for your wonderful responses to each of these students' questions. We'd now like to hand it over to Naveen from Kumaraguru colleges.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to all the panelists and the participants. I'm Naveen, Executive International Partnerships, Kumaraguru Institutions. On behalf of Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science and Kumaraguru College of Technology, I'd like to thank our speaker, Niki Chokshi, Recruitment Advisor, Arizona State University, and our moderator, Ms. Aparna Chandrashekaran, Advisor, Education USA at USIEF. This session clearly explained what information to be put and how to be put in order to come up with an impressive statement of purpose. Thank you so much for this informative session. I would like to thank all the participants for joining us today. A gentle reminder on next session. The next session will be on Monday. It will be at 4 p.m. exactly. The topic, Graduate Application Process by Mr. Abhyuday Pai, Admissions Ambassador, Tandon School of Engineering. Moderated by Ms. Shanti Mohan, Advisor, Education USA at USIEF. For more information on the series and registration, visit our website, theconversation.kclass.ac.in. I thank USIEF and Student Service Partner, IDP Education. I wish everyone a happy and safe weekend. Thank you so much.